It's 6 p.m. Eastern. Welcome to the Daily Wrap. And on the show tonight, Sirius XM radio star, columnist with Forbes magazine, and the man single-handedly keeping the e-cig business in business. Rick Unger is here. Yes, or whatever that is.
I am.
The plume that's coming across our screen. To his right, former Navy SEAL and the author of the page-turner Battle on the Home Front, Carl Higbee joins us. Sans tie, looking good. And introducing new to the Daily Wrap, former CNN and Fox alum, wow, like me, Forbes.com contributor Bill Tucker. William, welcome.
Like me.
Good to be here.
Let's go to the Daily Download. Well, as predicted right here and elsewhere, the Hillary Clinton email scandal is now getting even bigger. The former Secretary of State was using an email account under a fictitious name. Who hasn't done that? That was being managed by a private server at her home. That sounds safe. The Clintons have yet to respond to the incident. Congress has just subpoenaed her emails. Thank goodness. The State Department spokesman, Marie Harf, has plenty of information regarding her former boss's email account. Or does she?
Possible to get some clarity on who exactly in this building is in charge of handling compliance with regards to archiving of electronic communications?
I'm happy to check. I'm not, quite honestly, I'm not sure.
Do you know if anyone in whatever that department was had raised any concerns at the time that she was serving as secretary?
Well, not knowing what department that is, I think it'd be hard for me to know of concerns they raised.
Right.
So I'm happy to check.
But Pledge Week does begin later in March. Okay, the State Department needs to do some checking, and we should have an answer back by December of 2016. Okay, how about the White House? They've got a great game plan, I would imagine, to investigate Hillary's emails, right?
Is there anything happening either at the White House or that you know of at the State Department to go back and look at whether there were any security issues that came up with Secretary Clinton using a private email and an email server?
Nothing like that I'm aware of.
Well, everything. Meanwhile, the big news has fired up the debate over, yes, Benghazi. We just got word that the House Select Committee on Benghazi has subpoenaed ClintonMail.com for all correspondence related to the 2012 embassy attack. Rick Unger, there's blood in the water. Your thoughts on what is looking like maybe a dicey situation for the former Secretary of State?
Look, there's always blood in the water when it comes to Hillary. It's not good. It's not, I think people are getting a bit overwrought about this, but there's no question this is not helpful to her.
Okay, let me re-clarify or rephrase. Is this resonating, you think, with the American public in any capacity?
Yes, I think it is resonating. I think it's the kind of thing that doesn't last forever, but what does last is when you add this to the bucket of Hillary issues. It is, and the biggest knock she's going to get out of this is that it's very, quote, Clintonian. Lack of transparency. This is the sort of thing that does her harm. So, she better hope that when they do turn over these emails to the Benghazi committee, there's nothing in there that they can make too much out of, or it's just going to keep the story rolling for a lot longer.
Bill, the old saying is shavings make a pile, right? And 2 weeks ago it was the Clinton Foundation accepting gifts, and now this, and obviously all the other baggage that comes with being a Clinton. Here's my question, because, all right, is she going to jail? No. Did she break the law? Maybe, maybe not, but probably nothing will happen.
Right.
What effect will this have on Democrats' confidence in her ability to win in 2016?
Well, I'm one of those guys who's classically married to a liberal, and this is resonating with my wife, and my wife is disgusted. So to Rick's point, yes, this does add to the point you're making about the pile of shavings. She's upset. She's disgusted. She found out I had a secret mail account that I didn't tell her about that I got emails on.
You'd be in trouble.
Oh, I'd be in trouble. Every one of us would be. I mean, this just doesn't pass any sort of smell test. Forget the legalities of it. I have no idea whether this did or didn't break the law. It just smells bad. So now the question becomes, who's going to step up? Is there anybody who can, in fact, step up on the Democratic side?
We're going to talk about that, oddly enough.
Yeah.
A little later in the show.
A little later in the show, absolutely. So, Carl, you once had an email account, a fake one, under the name Carlos Danger at yahoo.com.
Well, now it's no longer secret. So thank
Twitter.
No, that was the other. That was Anthony Weiner. I'm sorry.
That's my dating website. So.
Right.
No,
right.
actually, I do have a real-world scenario. Now, this is when I was publishing my book and submitting things to the Navy. I was asked to submit everything from my private account and not on DoD computers.
Really?
So I did, and when it finally got to NCIS, they said, "Why did you do that?" I said, well, I was told to. Here's the email telling me to. They're like, well, you can't do that. We have to send everything all over again from an official email account because, God forbid, something happens. Now we're all in trouble because you sent it from a private email account. So here I am in the military. Why is the Secretary of State, being able to do that stuff? Why is there that double standard there?
Yeah, the head of a cabinet. Bill, are you surprised? The Clintons have been in the public eye for 25 years. Are you surprised about how reckless this was? Because it was going to get out eventually.
No, I'm not. Not at all. Because I think that there's an arrogance there that they can do whatever they want and they're going to get away with it. And I think it's really that simple. So I don't think they ever even entertained the thought.
But let's be a little bit careful here. She's not the first to do it since the 1950 law passed. We all know that Colin Powell now used his personal email account. The difference is Colin Powell didn't run for president, and it seems that Hillary does want to. Right. So you have to ask yourself the question, she had to know when she became Secretary of State, there was a chance she might run for president. Why would she want to open herself up to this criticism? And secondly, why was she not turning the emails over within a reasonable period of time? Then she's not in trouble. There's no problem with using your personal account. You have to make this stuff available to people who have freedom of information requests, etc.
But
she didn't.
This comes up to the fact that she has consistently displayed behavior that is, do as I say, not as I do. Very much so to the fact of, well, I think it's okay to do it. Nobody else can do it. But Colin Powell did it, but you know what? She has been very vocal on a lot of issues. I mean, you look at the Benghazi thing. What difference does it make? I mean, this shows a classic character flaw of her just showing any type of lack of care and concern for rules or laws or anything like that. She thinks she's above the law.
Well, I don't know that that's true, but I have to say to you that when she reacts the way you just pointed out, we all just watched on the monitor, she kind of begs for that criticism, even if it's not true.
You keep adding these straws, and like you said with the shaving, you keep adding these straws, it will break.
Yeah.
Let me turn the conversation to what happens next. Now, she hasn't addressed this yet. She was at an event last night and basically had a canned speech and didn't even speak about it. Bill hasn't spoken about it. 3-sentence answers right down the board. What happens next?
I'm not sure there's any gain in her addressing it. She could just stay quiet about it.
Interesting.
It's going to happen and it's going to proceed. She doesn't have to comment.
Carl, it's a lead story everywhere. I don't see how she could avoid it.
She's going to do the same thing. She's going to try to bury it because she thinks it's not a big deal.
Rick?
She can avoid it until she testifies before the Benghazi committee, and the most impact I suspect it will have is it could influence her decision as to whether or not it's worth it to run for president.
Very pithy to 3 of you. That was very McLaughlin group. I like that. Anyway, coming up next, Obamacare went back to the Supreme Court. Galen Institute President Grace Marie Turner was there and will tell us what happened. This is the Daily Max, and it's only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to the show. Well, today the Supreme Court appeared split over whether or not Obamacare will continue to be the law of the land. The debate centers around the legality of tax subsidies given to those who live in states that decided not to set up their own health care exchange in using the federal health care workplace. The White House was pleased with today's arguments. Here again is Press Secretary Josh Earnest.
Generally at the top that the administration was quite pleased with the performance of the Solicitor General in making a strong case to the court about the constitutionality of the law and the clear reading that we believe is there. We also feel like the session was useful because it gave him an opportunity to illustrate how clearly the law reads and how strong our legal arguments are in the case.
Well, I suspect our next guest may disagree with Mr. Earnest. Grace Marie Turner, president of the Galen Institute, a healthcare think tank in D.C., was at the Supreme Court and joins us now from Virginia. Welcome, Grace Marie.
Hello, Joe. Nice to be with you. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
So give us a quick overview of what happened today.
Well, that it very likely is going to be a 5-4 decision once again on this hugely consequential question about how much authority does the federal government have over our lives. And it was really interesting to listen to Josh Ernst basically say that the statute is clear. The statute is very clear. It says that you only get subsidies for your citizens if your state sets up an exchange. It does not say that if you default to the federal exchange. So if you look at the strict statutory language, you have to side with the petitioners, which say the IRS acted illegally when it allowed these subsidies to go through the federal exchanges.
Grace Marie, it's Rick. Just one quick question, and then I'm going to have a follow-up for you. But having read the transcript, I know I was surprised by Justice Kennedy and some of his questioning. Now, if we've learned anything from the last Obamacare case, it does not pay to try and figure out what this court's going to do based on their questions. But I got to believe that anti-Obama people tonight are a little bit unnerved by the direction that Kennedy was going. Is that true?
Well, Justice Kennedy was basically saying if the petitioners are right, then the law is not constitutional, which is really not what's before the court. It's the statutory interpretation.
Well, I don't think that's what he was saying.
Well, he's saying...
I think what he was saying is the petitioner's case would put an unconstitutional situation into effect because you would have the Congress holding over the availability of subsidies. If the state wants to get them, they're going to have to establish an exchange. So I'm not sure I agree.
Coercion of the states, which is not constitutional.
Right, and that's why I think that was the point he was making.
But then if he says that it is constitutional, that if he holds with the government, basically he's saying, well, the IRS can rewrite laws willy-nilly and spend billions of dollars of taxpayer money, which is what Justice Kennedy also said.
Another quick question. How do you square the way, I understand your interpretation that you gave us when you started off, and certainly there's a legal argument to support it, but how do you square that with the language we got in the last Obamacare case where the court absolutely said in what they wrote that you have to take the entirety of the law into consideration?
Well, this is the entirety of the law shows that one section allows subsidies if you set up your own exchange, the other section does not. And it doesn't just say it one time, Rick. It says it at least 9 times that your subsidies are available if you have an exchange established by the state, not just once. It's not a typo. So they wrote that into the statute, and we've actually done some research that shows congressional intent that committees in the Senate that were working to first write this law, one committee had language that would have allowed subsidies through the federal exchange. Another committee didn't. When they merged them, they didn't put that language in. That's pretty clear. Congressional intent was to not allow the subsidies through the federal exchanges as a way of coercing the states to participate, which is not legal.
Grace Marie Turner, you get the last word, and you deserve it. Good job. Nice talking to you. We'll have you back on as this case moves along. So, guys, one thing I did want to bring up to Grace Marie, which we just didn't have the time for, but I want to present it to you. She was making the argument of the clear language, right?
Yeah.
Now, you and I did this earlier before we came on the air. I said, what if I said the words to you, Congress shall not act, and I stopped right there. Now, those are the opening words of a segment of the Constitution. But if I stop there without taking the entirety of the entire article, then
you get the Congress we have now.
We'd have, right, but we would have a very different interpretation. So is it legitimate to say you take these 4 words together and that should somehow define the entire law?
Well, yes, because you're a lawyer established by the state. 4 words, they're pretty clear. I mean, obviously this is arguable, but and I like Scalia's comment. This may not be the law we want, but it's the law we've got. Established by the state seems pretty clear.
Yeah. Well, I believe the law is legal, though, Bill.
Yeah, but I mean,
ultimately,
the law is legal. I didn't understand.
I have no legal background whatsoever. But I thoroughly thought that they were going to strike it down under the mandate of saying you have to buy something. I mean, that's what I originally thought. So apparently, I was wrong there. This one, I really don't know where it'll go. I'm hoping, obviously, because I really don't like Obama. I think he's a terrible president, and I don't think he loves America, Rick.
But that shouldn't be the issue.
But no, it shouldn't be the issue. But it is the fact that I think it will get struck down because I think this is a clear and case point of taking what it says.
Let me go into a hypothetical.
Yeah. I want to get your vote on whether you think it survives or not. I'm going to be taking bets here, by the way.
I didn't think it would survive the first run, and I didn't think Justice Roberts was going to rule the way he did. So I'm not betting that.
You're not
race.
going for that. Smart.
No,
You're smart. This
no.
could go either way.
Yeah.
It absolutely could.
Absolutely.
What was your hypothetical?
My hypothetical is, what if it does get struck down? Then what happens?
Major mess.
All the people
why
that are
does that
covered
matter?
under.
Why does that matter? And
you
they kept
made that
bringing
point.
that up in the court today.
And
It would be
right.
disastrous. So what?
You make an extremely fair point. No, you make a very fair point. We're not supposed to determine constitutionality based on whether or not it creates a mess.
Right.
So you make a fair point. That said, they will absolutely consider whether or not it's going to make
What's to stop the president from unilaterally changing that language before the ruling or changing it after the ruling to say, oh, I mean, he's made these unilateral changes before
Well,
in the
let's
bill.
see if he does it.
So, Carl, you're
won't.
implying that he would actually issue an executive order.
I'm sorry. What was I thinking? I left my mind with my tie.
I suspect that won't be happening, but you could. You know.
But that's the whole thing, though. I mean, what fills the vacuum if this law goes away and all these people that are covered? It would be now. I don't say you rule as a result of, oh my God, what could happen. But Bill, I'll just give you the last word. I mean, then we just go back to where we were before.
No, it's worse than that.
Well, it is. It is worse than that. But again, you can't consider what that was going to be. You can't say it's going to be a disaster if we go unconstitutional.
I take your point.
That is the last word on that, but I have a feeling not the last word on that conversation. So, coming up next on the Daily Wrap, Attorney General Eric Holder believes Ferguson, Missouri police are racist. Go figure. We'll talk about that next. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap, everybody. Tonight, in the capable hands of our panel, Rick Unger, Carl Higbee, and Bill Tucker. Today, Attorney General Eric Holder announced what was found during his investigation into accusations that the Ferguson Police Department was racist. Here he is in his own words.
This investigation found a community that was deeply polarized, a community where deep distrust and hostility often characterized interactions between police and area residents, a community where local authorities consistently approached law enforcement not as a means for protecting public safety, but as a way to generate revenue, a community where both policing and municipal court practices were found to be disproportionately harmful to African American residents.
And Mr. Holder wasn't finished.
But seen in this context, amid a highly toxic environment, defined by mistrust and resentment, stoked by years of bad feelings, and spurred by illegal and misguided practices, it's not difficult to imagine how a single tragic incident set off the city of Ferguson like a powder keg.
Okay, Rick Unger, let's start with you. Darren Wilson found innocent. Was Eric Holder's hand forced here to at least symbolically do something?
Well, actually, just to keep it right, the officer wasn't found innocent, but it was found there was insufficient reason to prosecute him, which, by the way, I agree with. I would not have prosecuted him either. But no, listen, you can't go into reports like this just being automatically skeptical because you don't like the Attorney General. I actually scanned the report. A few things that caught my eye really did lead me to believe that what they're doing is the police force is a collection agency there. What was amazing is to pull somebody over for an alleged auto infraction, which maybe it was an auto infraction, but by the time the cop is done, he's found a way to write up 14 different violations, each one coming with a penalty. And you look at the white folks who got pulled over, no, they get charged for speeding or for running the stop sign. So there absolutely is something going on there, and I really hope that for the benefit of Ferguson and the people there, people will not get cynical and just as, I hate Eric Holder, therefore this whole report must be garbage. I support the police. Anybody who knows me knows that, but you look at this report, this is not kosher.
No, first of all, I'm from New Jersey. We're used to the argument that law enforcement is there to raise money.
Right. Yeah.
That was the argument behind the red light cameras the whole time. No, they're out there to raise money. So, yes, they are. Everywhere in America, police forces raise money. But I'm skeptical because I'm usually skeptical of government reports to begin with. But when you look at the racial statistics of the community, it's roughly, what, 67% black, not quite 30%
and 2
white.
black cops.
Yeah. So, and those emails are rough. I will give you that. Looking at those emails, those are rough emails, and that's impossible to defend.
I don't mean to rewind the tape there, but I want to revisit something that you said. You think that red light cameras are used strictly to raise revenue?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Educate me on this.
We all agree on that.
We all agree.
You run a red light, it's caught,
Boom.
you get a ticket. Yeah. Why shouldn't you?
But, you know, it was actually in Virginia there was a big issue about it, and they stopped actually issuing the tickets at one point, and they still have the cameras in place. But when I lived there, they actually stopped issuing the tickets because it was such a big controversy. But on this is a race.
Can I stop you there for a second? I'm sorry. If you run a red light and you're caught, why is that controversial? There's tape.
Here's where it's
permanent.
Controversial because a lot of times you can't really identify who's at the wheel, and if they just get the picture of the license plate, who knows who was driving the car?
Exactly.
That's a great argument.
And then
I had not
there's the
considered
time,
that.
There has to do with the timing of the yellow light, whether
what I'm
the
here
yellow
for,
light is
man.
properly timed for the
Right.
speed limit that's on the roadway,
Right.
because there is, believe it or not, a complex equation that we all learned about.
I
in
want
this
my
case
time
when it proceeded in New
to
Jersey.
beat this one to death.
Go.
Though.
Go
I
ahead,
think
sure,
this,
you think, brother.
this is
But
another.
before you
this-
go in, I want to say that how often do you see that on television, or at least cable news, when there's debates? And I said that's a great point, and I concede. Right? Everybody, you know how everybody always sticks to their guns? I'm conceding they made a
right
great
to a
point.
commercial and not let Higby do it?
No, Higby now has the final. You have 65 seconds. Go ahead.
Great. Well, I tell you what, on this, this is another race-baiting thing to solve a problem that somebody has an axe to grind. You look at this. My friend is a prosecutor here in Stamford, Connecticut, and he says he is historically treated poorly by the black people that he defends. These are the people he's defending. So you have to look at how they interact with the police. Do they interact with? Are they rude to them? Are white people rude to them? You have to look deeper into the issue and say, are the white people being more mean or less mean? Are the black people brushing them off? And guess what? I've gotten tickets.
Have you read the emails?
I've read some of the emails, and they do look bad.
Have you
They do
read
look
the
bad.
report?
I have not read the full
I
report
rest
yet.
my case.
No, but you have to understand what is the demographic and how many people are committing the crimes. Look at the prison populations nationwide, and you can zoom that down into depending on the demographic of the
I don't
actual
think
area.
you sold that, Carl.
I'm going to rewind something you just said. Well, one second. You don't get tickets. You're a former Navy SEAL, right? That's your get out of jail free card.
No, in Virginia Beach, there's a lot of Navy SEALs, and guess what? When there's like, oh, those effing SEAls. So
Really?
because we're always doing
The
something.
cop would have to do that.
The same cop that's got the badge to do pretty much whatever he wants as long as he's within some.
And has
takes
a quota to
real
fill on how much
gumption.
money he collects
So
on his tickets.
yeah, I tell you what, we get the tickets too, and sometimes if we're arrogant about it, he'll find 5 more tickets.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was a great I learned a lot during that. Anyway, we got to go, but coming up next, it's potluck time, and this is the Daily Wrap, and is only on Newsmax TV. Yeah, welcome back to Daily Wrap. It's potluck time. This is the part of the show where we go around the table and share our favorite stories of the day. Rick Unger, you are head chef tonight.
So, given all the additional grief that Hillary is now facing, it got into my mind this morning, what if Hillary doesn't run? And I spent a lot of the day calling up Democratic pals and saying, what are we going to do if Hillary doesn't run? Everybody's pretty much made up their mind this is what it's going to be. The money's being raised. What if she doesn't run? So I compiled a list of candidates that I think are realistic, and I want everybody to weigh in on them. That's what we're going to do tonight. That's the game we're going to play. Jim Webb.
I like him.
I can go with him.
You can go with him.
I don't know enough about him.
Okay. Andrew Cuomo.
No.
Big thumbs down from everybody. Democrat. Former Governor Deval Patrick of Massachusetts.
No,
not a
no,
chance,
no,
right?
no.
Governor Brian Schweitzer.
I
who
like.
know
I
you like.
I do. I like Schweitzer. I find him really, really interesting. He's compelling as a governor. Very states' rightist for a Democrat.
Don't know enough about him.
Don't know enough about him.
Well, see, you guys are showing how well educated you are among the Democrats. Aren't we a television political talk show?
Yeah, but I'm a right-wing extremist.
Well, that doesn't matter. You've got to know the other side.
Rick, I bet if you went down the street right now and you
Senator-
asked people the same question,
They wouldn't either.
They wouldn't know
That's what we're
most
here
of those
for.
names.
We're
Or
here
Warren.
to instruct them.
Most people
Here's
wouldn't know
one that
about
I know
Warren.
you're all going to love: Senator Bernie Sanders.
Oh yeah.
Is he a Democrat or is he a socialist?
He's a socialist and he's an independent.
An
But he
independent.
could run as a Democrat.
Well, he's
if he
planning on
chose
running
to,
anyway, right?
That's, I think, the primary list. I'll tell you what, it's Jim Webb, in my estimation. It's Jim Webb. Jim Webb, although he's done something strange, and I've been trying to track him down the past few days. He came out, did a little bit of a flurry about the fact that he was going to explore this, and he's thinking about it, and then he truly disappeared. Now, I don't know if he's tracking Hillary's strategy and waiting for her to emerge or what he's doing, but he's vanished, and I don't know if he's still running.
That's another thing. I think that by her, I mean, Republicans are spending money right now to prepare to have to beat her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if she doesn't jump in the race, it's a lot of wasted money
It's a
on the
lot of
Republicans.
waste of money for the Republicans.
You
That's
didn't
a
mention
very fair point.
You didn't mention one name.
Which
Warren.
one?
Elizabeth Warren.
No, because there's no way that Elizabeth Warren runs.
No way.
Even if
Didn't we
Hillary
try this
doesn't run.
first-term senator as president thing before? Haven't we done that?
Well, I don't think that's
She
necessarily
has the most
fatal.
enthusiasm in terms of her
She
supporters.
does. She does, and
She's
there
no.
could be an effort to draft her. But Elizabeth Warren is a remarkably smart woman, and as a smart person, she knows that she cannot win a general election in the United States today.
Not even though she's an American Indian.
Even though she's
164th Cherokee. So she can open a casino, though.
But I think the overall theme here, though, the overall theme is that there's no bench. There is no plan B.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So what?
This is a big problem for the Democrats. There really isn't a plan
It's almost
B.
like they've pushed her into having to do it at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with because.
And Plan A, I get the feeling there isn't a lot of enthusiasm behind. The only enthusiasm is that she's the only candidate that we have that could beat a Republican.
Well, also,
right now.
nobody wants to, be in her wrath. Nobody wants to challenge her because, whether they
That's
win or
a good
lose.
trait for a president.
Yeah, but here, well, no Democrats do. Republicans will challenge her all day, but I don't think anybody just wants to get in her way because they think that's the end of their Democratic career.
And that's the last word on that course. Bill, you have the second shift.
All right. Well, let me begin by asking you this: we have an ally in the world, runs a stable democracy, a growing stable economy. It is pluralistic in who it lives in the country. Mm-hmm. They come to this country at the invitation of the Speaker of the House, and the President of the United States not only ignores him, the President disses him and says, you know what, I didn't pay attention to his speech. Prime Minister of Israel and the country of Israel has been our ally and arguably the most stable country in the region for decades upon decades. How does a president, I don't care whether they're Republican or Democrat, do what this president did? I was outraged.
I'd like to answer that.
Shoot.
I had a feeling
I'm just going to respond by asking you this question. How does an Israeli prime minister, where he has a country who has also been his staunchest ally since the very beginning of his existence, make the decision to conspire to come to the United States without being even polite enough to inform the president that he's coming?
Well, maybe perhaps, first of all, the invitation was public. It wasn't private. And second, the president has his own campaign aides in Israel.
That's inaccurate.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, that's inaccurate. I've heard it too many times. I'm going to set it straight. There are some people who worked for the president who have been in their own business for 3 years, and guess what? They're allowed to make a living. Yeah. And making a living, they were hired by the candidates over there to do the job.
Did you watch the speech, though?
Yes, I did.
The first thing he did, he thanked Harry Reid. He gave him nothing but accolades. He thanked Nancy Pelosi. I think he took the high road. I think he displayed true leadership.
I agree.
And I think that the fact that the president should have been there, and I think the president not being there after seeing the speech.
He wasn't invited.
He was invited.
No, he wasn't invited.
You know
he's
what?
the president of the United
He
States. If he wants to show up to the Congress, he shows up.
You don't just get to say he was invited. He was not invited.
Carl, you're missing a big point. He did read the transcript.
Yes,
he didn't watch the speech.
And I suspect he did watch the speech.
And
that would be my guess.
And on that note, actually, they counted. He had over 10 standing ovations, Netanyahu, and what was the best speech probably before Congress in years. Anyway, when we come back, more potluck, including my own. This is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I'm your host, Joe Concha, and if you're just joining us, we're in the middle of our potluck, where we're sharing our favorite stories of the day. Carl Higbee, what are you serving up?
Okay, so the White House is trying to ban .223 rounds. They failed at being able to ban the M4. So
define a .223 round.
A .223 round is the M4 or the assault rifle ammunition. So they are saying that these can zip through bulletproof vests. They're actually specifically banning the green tips, which is a armor-piercing thing. But the fact of the matter is, the armor, being in the military, I've shot all this type of ammo. The armor-piercing version of a .223 round, which is a 22 bullet, it's not a very big bullet. It's the size of a smaller than a thumbtack. The 30-06, 300 Win Mag, the 50 cal, all readily available, will go through 3 to 4 times as much substance as a .223 round. But they're not trying to ban those. They're clearly trying to ban the .223 round to deprive people who own M4s, AR-15s, the assault rifles. Ban them from using them, discourage them from buying them. That is the writing on the wall here.
Yeah, and I'm right with you, and I think it's ridiculous. I learned to shoot on a 22, and the 223. You're right, is just barely any bigger, indiscernibly so. Right. So I don't like this play, because I think that once he does it, if he could successfully do it, he will then move on to the 30 caliber. Then he will move on to the 50 caliber. There won't be any stopping up.
Until we have nothing left except for right-wing nutjobs like me.
Wow. Do you think it'll ever get to that point? You get rid of assault rifles and eventually gets down to...
I think he's going to fail at this. If he tries to strike this down by executive fiat, I think it's going to get struck down and it's going to get challenged. We got groups like the NRA are definitely going to push this one over. But there is no way that he can legally do this. In my mind, I'm not a lawyer, but I think this is a clear example of him failing in one thing and moving to the next best.
Rick, I want to follow with something first, because I think sometimes terms are used on television and we all assume the audience knows what it means. Define what an executive fiat is.
Well, there's no such thing as an executive fiat. It's his snarky way of saying executive order.
Yes.
Okay, I tried to bait him, and it didn't quite work.
Yeah, I just want to make...
Can I ask you a question? Because I really don't know anything about ammunition. Is there a greater protective benefit in that type of ammunition than a regular .22 or something?
Well, here's the thing: is a .223 round, the M4 round, leaves the chamber at about 2,900 feet per second and is smaller than the tip of an eraser. But yet you have a 300 Win Mag, which is leaving well over 3,000 feet per second.
None of that means a thing to me. Is it deadlier?
It's a bigger round. It's a much more powerful round. Not only will it zip through a vest, it'll knock that person over and then kill the person behind him. And what
so how is that advantageous?
The thing is, it's the argument that it's getting our people on the streets killed. Handguns kill people. M4s and assault rifles are such a small...
I accept that. I'm just curious what the benefit of being able to have that kind of ammo is.
You know what it is? It's a popular target round. It's fast. It's light. You can carry a ton of them. The difference between an armor-piercing and a non-armor-piercing round really has no bearing. Cops don't even wear hard protection vests anyway.
So is it primary for a target scenario?
Yeah, absolutely.
So would it be a terrible idea to have it available to shooting ranges where you go to shoot targets?
But then you'd have to buy it.
You'd buy it there.
And then you could take it home with you or something. You can't say which ammo. That's like going to a library saying you can't read a fiction, but you can read a nonfiction.
I mean, I understand the point you're making in terms of, don't limit what I'm allowed. I'm allowed to have it.
Right.
I'm just curious if there's a real benefit of some sort to it.
It's just a very popular, cheap, fast, easy round to shoot.
And I think precedent. I think precedent.
Really precedent.
Right, and you used the word target before, and that's a perfect transition over to my potluck, which again has been stepped on by one of our panelists, and I'm only down to 2 minutes. Anyway, you may have read today, woes at Target. They're actually targeting, no pun intended, 10,000 jobs they're going to cut. It's all in an effort to save $2 billion for the store. So you sit back and you wonder, okay, well, why is Target in trouble? I mean, I go there sometimes, albeit Target. It's got a nice upper class ring to it. But it goes back to a theory that I have around the fate of most department stores, and that is they are all going to die probably a faster death than we know. And here's why. Amazon is so damn convenient. Yeah. It's to the point now. I do it when I'm walking into the shower. Oh, we need this. I'm out of deodorant. I'm out of soap. I could go to ShopRite and get that, or I could go to Target if I need a garbage can. But I just order it and it comes to my house. Sometimes in a day, sometimes in 2 days.
Delivery.
In the city, they get it here.
What do you buy?
In the city, they get it here in under an hour. So what? I'm sorry.
What do you buy?
Well, it's funny because I was ordering something during a commercial.
Let me do that.
Oh, no, you don't want to.
Let me do that. Oh, you can't be serious. Let me read you Joe's list. Peppa Pig, my birthday party, which is on the way.
I have a baby daughter.
Hefty odor block tall kitchen trash bags.
We're out of trash bags.
Thermos Nissan Intac hydration water bottle. Actually, I like that. That's a good thing, that hydration bottle.
Yeah.
Rubbermaid commercial desk side recycling container in medium green.
Yeah. I didn't want the blue.
Paper-made profile retractable ballpoint pens. But you don't buy anything fun, man. Another Firmus vacuum. What are you, a water addict? I mean, you got.
I actually am. Yeah.
A Novatel MiFi for.
Jesus, the wireless thing when I'm on the go.
Joe, first of all, you're spending way too much.
We gotta go.
We're putting
it keeps going. And that was only over the last 48 hours that I've ordered all that.
Goodness.
So the point is, Amazon, convenient, going to the store, maybe not so much. Anyway, that's all for Potluck. Next is Yay or Nay. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax. Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It's now time for Yay or Nay. This is a segment now that is so critically acclaimed. It's actually getting its own segment bump. Play it!
We are such a big budget show. That is so happening. You
Kind
know?
of a pinkish hue.
Pinkish hue.
That has
salmon or Nantucket red.
Salmon. That's Nantucket red. Thank you, Carl. Boy, how classy guy.
Carl, you're such a sensitive
From
man.
a seal, who would guess?
Deep down.
Anyway, I think we could all pretty much agree that jury duty is the worst, correct? So, when getting out of your civic duty, we're always told not to try to use the old "I'm too busy" excuse the next time you're summoned, unless you're a former vice president. Yes, Al Gore, a former vice president himself, and nearly a president, Thank you, Florida. Showed up to jury duty Monday, suit and all, but was dismissed because he had, I should say, an out-of-state meeting next week and wouldn't be available if the trial went that long. So, your yay or nay question, should we all get excused from jury duty for having a busy schedule, Bill?
Well, yes, of course.
Really?
No, no, that's ridiculous. It's like he should have sat and been excused by the lawyer for whatever reason the lawyers wanted to excuse him, but that's crazy.
But if you went into you had to serve jury duty and you said, you know what, I got to be on the Daily Wrap, and I got a haircut next week. No one gets excused for that.
No, nobody gets, no.
I think you should be able to be excused once or twice. I have jury duty tomorrow.
You do?
Actually, yeah, I really have it tomorrow. So I think you should be able to be like, hey, look, I got some videotapes to return. I can't do it today, but you should have to serve it. And, just move it once. That's fine.
Are you on the jury, or are you?
No, I have to actually go and sit in the room and be selected. They're probably not going to select me.
Okay,
so they never do.
Now, where I came from, which was California, that's basically how it worked. The first time was free; you could get right out of it. After that, you better have a darn good reason.
Okay.
I'll go with nay. It's an inconvenient truth that we all have to serve our civic duty. That was his.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, I tried. Anyway, if you have Time Warner Cable or Dish Network, or watch any of CBS's hit comedies or dramas, you may have gotten a glimpse into a world without the Tiffany Network, CBS, during their negotiation struggles last week. But don't worry, CBS CEO Leslie Moonves says CBS isn't going anywhere and will be part of every TV bundle. Between its hold on the NFL and the Super Bowl and its string of #1 comedies and dramas, including NCIS, Moonves may have a point. So I have to ask, could you live in a world without CBS, yay or nay, Rick?
Absolutely, and they would not have a hold on football if we weren't seeing them, so they would move somewhere else.
Carl.
Yeah, individual shows would go somewhere else, but I could live fine without CBS.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's a television network.
Now, ask me if I could live without Newsmax.
Could you live without Newsmax?
Never.
Rick?
No.
Never.
I can't live without Rick.
And I have to go with the nay. I haven't really watched CBS since Dallas and the Dukes of Hazzard were back to back. Actually, when Dukes of Hazzard and Dallas, somehow they went back to back on Friday nights, the least watched night of the week, and they were #1, #2 in the ratings. And then when the Muppets went away, then I simply haven't come back. Anyway, the United States is set to suffer a major doctor shortage over the next 10 years, according to a new report conducted Tuesday by the Association of American Medical Colleges. By the year 2025, we may be short, get this, 90,000 doctors. The shortage is due in part to Obamacare covering more people as well as an increasing aging population. We've all heard about the baby boomers now retiring that will have more chronic diseases like cancer. Great. So would you advise your child, or in Rick's case, your grandchild, to become a doctor in today's world, yay or nay?
Absolutely yes. And by the way, to set the record straight, they're not telling you the truth. The American Medical Association decides how many medical schools they can be. They lost track of it. They should have authorized more medical schools 20 years ago. It's their fault we're having this shortage.
Carl.
All I can say is I told you so. So wasn't going to work out.
So, but would you advise your
there's no
daughter
I
to
told
become
you
a
so
doctor?
I would not. I would not.
You would not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would. If my child wants to be a doctor,
Right.
absolutely. But if they're deciding whether to be a doctor or not based on what they get paid, then they're making the decision on the wrong basis.
Okay.
And they would be anyhow.
Yeah.
I could speak to this somewhat intelligently because my wife is a doctor, and she actually obviously went to undergrad, and then afterwards had to do her residency, and then afterwards had to go to, medical school, then residency. All right, so you're talking, years, take her boards. She has to take it again next year. There are student loans out the wazoo. Thank God she got a scholarship to her undergrad. Yeah. But by the time she actually can earn real money, she's 30 years old. Her 20s are gone.
It's like lawyers, though. Like, my cousin's a doctor, and she says, you know what? I should have taken something else. I have tons of friends who are lawyers. I said, I should have done something else. Grass is always greener.
Well, that's their own fault.
Yeah.
I'm happy with everything I've done.
I just think we have to incentivize American children more. That we'll help you pay for these things more. It shouldn't be so expensive to do something so hard.
Where's the money coming from, though?
Doctors are the butt of the healthcare system. It's their own fault because they haven't managed themselves well, but that's got to be fixed. You can't have a healthcare system without a doctor.
Billy, it's our first time here, so you get the final word, 10 seconds.
This is really horrible, but I think I agree with Rick, and I'm not supposed to be doing that.
Wow. I feel like moving away from
I apologize. I'll scoot down, Carlo.
And we'll end it on that disturbing note. So I thank our panel tonight, by the way. A lot of testosterone on the set.
Yeah, it was
and
good.
You all did a great job. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in as well. Tune in tomorrow night, 6 p.m. for more Daily Wrap right here on Newsmax TV. I'm Joe Contra. Bye-bye.